was being treated more like a foreigner in the last few years than ever before. Till a few years ago, I never felt like a foreigner in Japan.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My sister is here in the UK.
来ちゃった。
来ちゃいました。というわけでご紹介。Could you please introduce yourself, Alecia?
ジョシュアの姉のアリシャです。So I'm Josh's older sister.
Do I have a younger sister?
Making it clear.
Just make it clear that she's over 30.
Do we need to tell them about that? Just arrived to the UK from Japan.
Just to recap, we were born and raised in Japan. Both four of our grandparents came to Japan in the 50s and 60s from the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And our parents grew up in Hokkaido, Japan, and they got married in Japan, and they moved to Tokyo, and that's where we were born and raised. And yeah, and now we're in the UK. Why did you move here, Alecia?
I've been at my company for 7 years, but this company's HQ is in the UK. So after working for the Japan office for a good 7 years, I thought, all right, I think there's more to the world and I need to see more than Japan.
Yeah.
We never considered, I never considered living in the UK at all.
Yeah. I think we were never interested in the UK until like a few years ago or something.
Yeah, so I think we even played with the idea of going to university in the UK, but we never really took it seriously and never came. So I thought, okay, this is probably the best opportunity. Felt like the right timing. I think we were a bit more mature to understand what was going on in the UK, to want to come here.
Can you go further into why you wanted to leave Japan? I think you were feeling something a bit more deeper.
Till a few years ago, I never felt like a foreigner in Japan. I felt so at home in Japan. Obviously we understand the language, we've been there most of our lives. I don't know, maybe it was because Japan was preparing for the Tokyo Olympics and all this. I felt like I was being treated more like a foreigner in the last few years than ever before. And it comes from Japanese people wanting to show respect or wanting to how should I say, do a lot of accommodating omotenashi, right, for anyone visiting from outside of Japan. But it kind of felt like I was never accepted for being able to speak Japanese. Even if I speak to someone in Japanese, they'll always want to respond to me in English, just because of the way I look. But clearly, I was speaking to them in native Japanese, and they didn't ever want to. They don't really want to accept that. They don't want to accept the fact that someone can speak their language. So experiencing that every single day in every circumstance where you have to pay for something, or whenever you're communicating with someone, you're being reminded that you don't look like you're from there, and
you don't belong there even.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously with my friends, they never treat me that way. They know who I am. They know that I grew up here, so they're gonna. Some of my friends even say, "Oh, I sometimes forget that you are even from a different country." People actually assume that you even have Japanese citizenship, which is, to me, kind of well, isn't it obvious that we don't, because Japan doesn't hand citizenship just because you're born here, right? So it's sometimes a surprise. But my point being that it never bothered me till a few years ago, and I thought it was a good opportunity to try something new. So it could be just a few years that I'm here, but it's still going to be a experience, I think, whenever I'm elsewhere, to say, okay, I remember living in the UK and it was like this, and this is what I appreciate about it.
And you've been here for 3 days now?
3 days.
Yes, and it's been a lot. It's been so rough. She's been culture shocked a lot, and she's been here a few times before, obviously, but it's actually Alicia's first time living here. Yeah. And you've never been here more than 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think, the longest I've been here is 2 weeks.
And 2 months in total, maybe?
Yeah, came a few times for business, came a few times for just holiday.
How is it? How's the UK? How is it compared to Japan? How is it different to your life in Tokyo?
汚い. Everything's just dirty. I think the level of sanitation, or
the coach bus today.
Coach, just when we open the table that's in front of the seat in front of us, there's like an orange peel just like stuck inside. It's like someone had left it, or like you see trash everywhere. Windows are very dirty, like just things that you take for granted. Other things are like customer service. Yesterday, there was a mistake with my order, and like I had to wait for 40 minutes at a food court.
Yeah.
And it turned out that they actually made a mistake with my buzzer and my actual number, and then they at the end they just gave me a free drink or whatever. But I don't know, like customer service in Japan is like you are considered a god in Japanese customer service standards, and I took everything like that for granted. So many things I'm just like, in Japan they would do it this way. You're like, I'm just comparing everything, and I feel a bit bad that I'm like comparing everything.
I think you're in that phase right now where you're like comparing everything because you're like fresh off the boat, like you just got here. I think it takes like a month to get over that comparing, but once you get used to it, I think you start not thinking about them.
I don't want to be doing that in front of people who are like, oh, in Japan they do it this way. You're like, it would be better in Japan. I don't want to be doing that. I just want to accept everything for what it is. Be like, okay, this is how things are run, and it actually functions that way. Like the world still, you know, works.
But because we're so used to like that Japanese hospitality, like we can't help it but to like compare and all that, you know?
Omotenashi.
What do you want to experience here?
I just want to experience a different way of life, right? So I've thought that life was a certain way, and it's the way that I've known all through my life in Japan. I think one of the things, well, obviously business, how businesses are run, how the business culture is. I only know the salariman way of doing things in Japan. You know, go out drinking till late, and you have to satisfy the customer, and you have to be so professional in your emails and all this. But I want to learn a different way of doing business in the UK. How is it done? How is it done in Europe? So really looking forward to you know, a lot of business trips around the UK, but also maybe some parts of Europe as well. I'm also curious about like how family life is done in the UK. Families are such a key part of life in the UK. Well, obviously, but I feel like in Japan, children are so hidden from the business world. Like they're just like, oh, they're at home and my wife is taking care of them, so they never get mentioned. But I feel like here, men and women share roles in the sense that, you know, today I have to pick up my kids or whatever, or you know, even a guy would say that in Japan, or sorry, in the UK, and which is like fascinating to me. It's like, oh, they share roles. Kids are everywhere in the UK. Like I feel like even in London you see kids everywhere, and you see parents telling their kids off like in front of other people, or really just engaging with the children. Yesterday I was at Tate Modern, and I walked into the bathroom, and a lady was changing her baby's diapers, and I was just amazed the way that the mom was like interacting with the baby, like, hey baby, you know, like smiling and everything. And I feel like you wouldn't do that in Japan. You'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry that, you know, I'm taking up space, or like she just do it very quietly and like don't interact with the child. But I feel like that the facial expressions, like the baby needs that for their development, that it's those small things that children are part of life, and they get brought into everything. That I want to see more of that. I want to be able to see what's a healthy way of bringing up children, you know, within the family. So really cool to see that. I feel like there's so many people from different places of the world, all in London. Like I've just never seen so many people who are of different sizes or different shades of color, and like different faiths, different religions, and everybody is so accepting of each other that it's going to be interesting. Me coming from a very monocultural environment, that, you know, I was always the odd one out, but now I'm like fading into the crowd.
We're the majority here now, but we don't feel like the majority. To be honest, because
we still feel very
Japanese,
right?
because inside we're so not British, but we look British, so it is an odd feeling going into like a supermarket. I feel like people think we're British, but we're just speaking Japanese to each other. So it is a strange feeling. How Japanese were you in Japan? Because I try not to be Japanese growing up, and for like even business and that kind of occasion, like I would try not to be Japanese at all. But I feel like you had to be Japanese in a way, even though you work for a British company. Like how Japanese did you try to be, or how foreign were you?
Me traveling now, I realize how much I was Japanese. Just because how should I say, the way my outlook on life is very Japanese. So I think it's helped me understand more now that I've come out of Japan, how Japanese I am. In terms of like a social context, I think a part of me was always wanting to find international friends, but also hang out with my Japanese friends too. So I think I had a good balance in the sense that some days I would hang out with my English-speaking friends and had fun with them and sort of open-minded, discussions and all this. But then I would quickly be able to get into my Japanese friend circles and still understand what they're thinking. And I think I had a very similar value system to them as well. So I don't know, all my life I've been going in and out of different cultures, the English-speaking sort of friends and then my Japanese friends. Even at the international school, I had like different groups of friends that I would go in and out of.
You were even like involved with Korean friends. Like,
yeah.
You even had a lot of Korean friends, and you speak Korean, and you love Korea,
So yeah, I mean, having Korean friends also opened my eyes to different things. So even living there for 6 months a while back, it opened me to a whole nother world, and that made me realize, the world is a bigger place than just Japan or the US or maybe the UK. There's so much more. So since that time, Korea probably, it made me realize I have to see the world more. Like the way they depict the things on the media is totally different for different countries. Like you look at the same news piece and it's like different in Korean, it's different in Japanese, it's different in English. So that experience in Korea really helped me to sort of tell myself, okay, you need to get out there more. So yeah, it's helped me.
We also struggled going to an American school in Tokyo because we're not Americans. Our parents are not from the US, but we had to be American.
I remember as a kid always being told by like kids on the street, America-jin da, being told, oh look at that, there's an American. And I'm like, do you know any other countries than the US? Like, I would always want to say like, okay, bring me a globe and I will show you all the countries that you don't know about. And, just me being a kid and wanting to be nasty, I was thinking that. But we had to put on sort of a act, I think. I remember we would be driving to school and then the last 5 minutes before we got to the school, we would have to like put on this new persona and like sort of, I don't know, become American in the 5 minutes that we had left. And then I remember my dad commenting because I was like maybe sighing just before I arrived at school, like, okay, like here we go type thing. And he was like, what's going on? And I'm just like, well, I have to be American now. I have to be acting like someone else. And so he was just like, I don't understand why you have to do that. Like, just be yourself, just enjoy school or whatever. So I remember having to do that. But even the dress code, right? It was so free. We were allowed to wear, whatever we wanted. And we got to wear like flip-flops.
And that was a shock.
And even Dad commented another time in the car, he was like, are you even allowed to wear flip-flops to school? I'm like, yeah, everybody else does that. Yeah. So I think we became sort of American while we went to the school, and I enjoyed the years that I got to be at that school, and it was an amazing experience for me, and I appreciate it because I was just coming out of a Japanese school, graduated 6th grade, and I can't imagine myself going to a Japanese junior high. Like, I think my parents made the right decision for me, where I could meet more other weird people at the international school. Everybody is weird, and for the first time, I felt like I could fit in because you don't have to fit the same sort of persona or fit the same sort of culture or whatever. You don't have to have the same culture. So that was a relief for me.
じゃあ最後にちょっと日本語喋っていただけますか？
日本語喋れないみたいになってる。イギリスに来ちゃいました。
来ちゃいました。
でもここで仕事も頑張っていろんなことを学んでから日本に帰りたいと思います。
Okay, so that was that was a really good talk, Alecia. And thanks for coming, Alecia. Bye bye. Okay, so thank you for watching, guys. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And please subscribe to this channel. And please leave a comment. And please go follow my Instagram or whatever. If you want to follow Alicia, do you accept?
Sure.
Yeah. So if you want to follow Alicia's life in the UK, ano account mo sila?
So I have a new Instagram account now called Brit-ish diaries, and basically it's an Instagram talking about all the things I'm noticing, that, you know, how much I am not British,
Yeah.
but learning to be British for the first time in my life. So if you want to check that out, I just started it, but hope to be uploading more.
じゃあ、皆様ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
じゃあ、またね。
またお会いしましょう。
バイバーイ。